Howdy, folks. Welcome to the season 11 finale of At Home with Mark. You know, my headliner is one of the masterminds behind hits like Two Princes and Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, but I know him as the king of hooks throughout my whole life. I know him from How Could You Want Him When You Know You Could Have Me? You Let Your Heart Go Too Fast, More Than Meets the Ear, Sweet Widow, Big Fat Funky Booty, To Make Me Blue, Sister Sisyphus, Sugar, Margarita, Heart of the Highway, which is my new fave. But Chris Barron is the headliner of season 11. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Oh, hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Love the new record, dude. Love it.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like you guys just consistently just make me happy with every
Oh,
record. And it never falls short because I feel like there's this like concoction and there's this like formula to what the Spin Doctors are in my heart, in my mind. And I feel like every album, it's just like you never kind of falter. You always kind of
oh,
follow through on what your fingerprint is. So hell yeah. Great job.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Um,
We got lucky with a couple of those tunes.
well, let me tell you, I told you before this, but like eighth grade talent show, man, it was funny because the dichotomy of my eighth grade year was we played Two Princes in the talent show, and the other cats, because I have an older brother who's into Fish and the Grateful Dead, so I started getting into like blues and like improvisational music. But the other cats in the band wanted to do a Metallica tune, so we did Creeping Death and Two Princes.
Oh man.
Both of which I had to sing, and I was like, what is going on here? But anyway, thank you for like just a lifetime of like inspiration, because you really have been a large part of it.
Oh, my
So
pleasure.
Chris, my first question to everybody is the same, and I think it's an interesting question because it kind of like gives me insight to where your path has led. But like,
Uh-huh.
what's your earliest musical memory?
Oh, like 2 years old, maybe. 3 years old. Like I don't know, as early as I can remember. And my parents had Crocodile Rock playing on the stereo, and I just remember how great that sounded. And I was like, I was shorter than the speaker. I would remember the speaker being taller than me and just like standing there, like looking into the speaker, like trying to see where the music was coming from. But like, in terms of like, starting to play and stuff, when I was 8, my mom, um, oh no, I got another one. I got another one. I must have been like 4 or 5, and I used to stand on our couch, and we had like kind of a big bay window. It looked out over our little, like, we lived kind of on a cul-de-sac, and I used to like stand on our couch and look out the window and sing out the window. Like not out the window, the window was closed, but like sing at the window and pretend like the whole neighborhood was like full of people, like
Nice.
sing to the people. And then when I was like 8, my mom was like, "All right, Chris, you're gonna take guitar lessons." It was like out of nowhere. And I was like, that sounded like a pain in the ass. So I was like, nah. And she was like, "No, you're gonna take guitar lessons." And I was like, "How about trumpet?" And my mom was like, "You can't have a sing along with the trumpet." And I was like, "Oh yeah. How about piano?" And she was like, "You can't take a piano to the beach." And I was like, "Oh man, this bitch is crafty."
There's
I
all
didn't,
valid points, though.
I didn't really, she had a really good point. So I was like, and I lost my mind for a second, and I was like, "How about drums?" And she was like, "I will drown you in the tub before I let you become a drummer." Not really. Not really. She just said, "No." You know what she said? She said, "No, no beach, no sing along, no drums." And I
Right.
was like, "Okay." And so I took guitar lessons, and like took a guitar lesson at this guitar store, and I was like waiting to get like picked up afterwards, and walk out, and typical Gen X kid, like waiting in a store for a parent to like pick them up for a half an hour. And it was the first time I'd ever seen like, you know, 70 guitars in like one place. And sorry, I gotta let my cat out. My wife is like trying to be
You're fine, man.
the good wife, and like let the cat out and cat's like, I gotta get out of here. Um, yeah. So the class was like, I didn't know what the guy was talking about. I didn't really know what chords were, and I had my own guitar that my dad bought for me, which was pretty cool. I was pretty into that. And we learned Glenn Campbell, Try a Little Kindness, but I was like 8, so it was like a class, so like some kids could play it. I didn't really know what was going on, but I walked out and there was a Gibson Hummingbird. Like I walk around a corner and I like face to face, eye level with a Gibson Hummingbird. And if viewers who don't know this guitar, it's it's a beautiful guitar with this kind of red finish. And the pick guard, the plastic thing that's next to the sound hole, has a hummingbird on it and sort of hovering in front of some blossoms that are, all carved into the pick guard. And, I just stopped and I looked at it, and the like kind of kinetic energy of like this hummingbird, like frozen, and the potential like music that was like lying silent inside of this guitar, like the juxtaposition of those two things just like blew my mind. And I fell in love with guitars. Like in that moment, I fell in love with guitars as objects, just as like uh
Pieces of art.
pieces of art, and as this like archetypal sort of symbol of like expression and freedom and like this sort of um Excalibur like, powerful tool for you know communication that went beyond just like things you could say. You could take a a lyric and 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 make it like take words and make them infinitely more potent with like this totem, this guitar, and so I started playing guitar when I was 8. I didn't get really serious about it, although I really like guitars. I didn't get really serious until I was 12. And then I took some lessons with this guy, Barry Peterson, big Ichabod Crane looking guy. And he taught me like a Harry Belafonte song and Simon and Garfunkel tune and Fleetwood Mac song. I took a chord from each of those. I was kind of like playing this thing. He came in for the next lesson and I showed it to him. And I didn't know if he was going to be like, hey, you know, stop fucking around and play what I told you to play.
Right.
Because like dyslexic and never good in school. Like a lot of my childhood was people telling me to stop fucking around and do what I'm supposed to do. So he comes in and I play him this thing and he just goes, yeah, that's cool. If you take some chords and you like play them, and you just go da 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 do 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 do, and if you do that long enough, that turns into words, and then you just write those down in a notebook with the chords, and that's how you write songs. And like it was one of those moments where you know, like just springs and cogs like all popped out of my head and fell down onto the floor, and I was like, What are you talking about? What about like the that staff thing and the squiggly lines?" And he was like, "What music? You think Bob Dylan and John Lennon can read music?" And I was like, "Of course they can." He was like, "No, they can't. That's how they write songs." And then I was just off and running because I was always like really into creative writing, and I had a penchant for it from an early age. Like when I was 12, I had this really great English teacher, a guy named Eugene Doherty, who got his arm blown off at the Battle of Iwo Jima. And he had this like, this like, this is the 80s, right? It's like 1980. He had this like Naga hide prosthetic device with this hook, like really kind of like a beautiful but scary kind of guy and scary prosthetic. But he was awesome, heart of gold, but you just didn't want to piss him off. Marine. And he was teaching us literary devices. And we are talking about metaphors and similes. He goes, "Who's got a simile for me?" So I put my hand up and and in the distance, a bell tolls like a lonely sentinel of a happier time. And dude, I'm 12,
Yeah.
you know, and he's like, "Is that Faulkner?" And I was like, "Who's Faulkner?" And he's like, he'd read everything. And he rolled his eyes up and he's like, he knew that I made in that moment. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, this kid came up with that." And he's like, "Pretty good, Mr. Barron." And then later he was like, "Is everything okay at home?" Like, why are you 12 and like this sad, you know?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, so for me, you got guitars, rudimentary like conception of how to write a song, and you know, creative writing and this kind of poetic sensibility. And you know, by the time I was 19, I'd written two Princes.
Man, that's nuts, dude. I mean, here's the thing that how I perceive you and how I perceive the band and the music, just being an outsider and being a fan for God knows 30 years or so. I'm 46 by the way,
Yeah,
but it's crazy because you've always had this natural ability, and this is the same thing I was talking about earlier with how you guys always deliver. And I said that to Jack too. I was like, a song like Rock and Roll Heaven. I'm like, that is like classic fucking Spin Doctors, and it's classic
yeah.
Chris with
Thank you.
how you came across with the words and what you felt the music needed. Um, so it's like this has just innately been in you forever. It's crazy. Like your turn of phrase and the way that you make something, you know, poignant, but also not take yourself too seriously at the same time. It's like I don't know how you manage to do that so goddamn well.
Thank
But
you. I mean, it's a couple of things. I work really hard on writing and singing and continuing to sing well. And I first of all, I take what I do seriously, but I don't take myself seriously.
totally.
So I I am happy to be like an object of ridicule. Nobody thinks it's like funnier or sillier than me, that I'm the guy in that funny hat from like the 90s. You know what I mean? I think the whole thing is kind of hysterical. I think rock and roll is kind of silly, but it's also this, you know, very potent tool. Um, and and yeah, I work I've worked really hard on it, and I've always noticed that the trope of like, yeah, I like their early stuff, where you get these bands that like, they languish as the years go by, and they lose that, creative, they continue to be creative, but they're like the stuff doesn't have the edge that it has earlier on in their career. So I try really hard. I've tried really hard to be conscious of that and to not be lazy, to really work hard on like on just my mechanics as a singer, my mechanics as a writer, like keeping, returning to like sound creative writing principles, and not trying to write the same, not trying to write the same shit I wrote when I was a kid, but to write the same way I wrote when I was a kid, and to find, like like joy and and disappointment and love are things that you feel throughout your life. But if you write about love as a 57, I'm 57, if you write about love as a 57-year-old, the way you wrote about it when you were 19, it's just not gonna, it's you can't do that. You have to like find you have to find the 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 essence of the truth of your life and what you have to say in your life now. And just to go back to what you said, like I, I have always tried to please myself. I've always tried to like remember that someone else is going to be listening to what I'm doing. So you can't be indulgent, so you're not trying to gratify yourself. You're trying to please yourself, trying to like, you know, something that's going to come back out of the speakers in the studio and like make you smile.
Mhm.
Something that's going to like make you have an involuntary reaction, like laugh or nod your head, tap your foot, where you look down, your foot's tapping, and you're like, that's what you're going after, and you don't stop until it gives you that feeling. So if you don't have a record to make in you, don't make a record, I mean, sometimes you have to make a record, but the idea is if you, I call it holding the mirror up to the mirror. If you find something really true inside of yourself, chances are other people are gonna respond to it. If you get really down to the true core, the heartstrings of of what makes you tick, someone out there is going to get it. Someone out there is going to be like, man, they're not going to be like, what is this? This does not compute. What they're going to do is go, wow,
Yeah.
I never knew anybody else felt that way. Somebody else, has felt that way. So, you're not going to ever do anything original. You're not going to, every note has been played, every combination of notes, every chord progression has been done. So, what I have tried to do, and when I think the point is virtuosity, to like pursue this virtuosity, not so that you can show everybody how you're just like smoking, and do like some kind of gymnastics, but so that you can truly like express yourself, portray your own human personality through what you're doing. And if you do that, people are going to get it, and it's going to ring true. And that's the point, really. And that's going to be original. Because the only thing about anybody, the only thing you can do, the only thing in the world that's original is a personality, is a human personality. There's nobody in the world like you. So if you get to the point where you can play the drums or play the guitar or sing or write in a way that's like it just like allows your essence to come through, the truth of the emotion that you're feeling, then you're going to be original. People are going to think you're original. You're not going to be actually like doing something that no one's ever done before. Everything's been done. But people are going to look at that and they're going to admit that's an original, because it's not going to be the motifs that you're playing that are original. It's going to be the you-ness that you're putting into it that people are going to respond to and feel as original.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's what my response was the first time I heard you guys that long ago, was like, it was totally opposite of what was kind of happening at that moment musically, with like the grunge movement and everything. And I think even though I love that stuff, I feel
Me
like
too.
when I heard my brother listening to old Dead tapes or listening to Junta, and like I was like, ooh, what is that? And then like listening
Yeah.
to Medeski, Martin, and Wood and all this really cool shit. And then I heard your stuff. I was like, that's kind of in that vein. I think I like funky, bluesy, soulful stuff. Like, I don't think I want to be living in the darkness of Alice in Chains forever. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
there's this light on the other side of the tunnel. And dude, you guys were my first concert. I went to see you guys with Screaming Trees and Soul Asylum.
Oh man, you would have been like a little pellet back then.
Oh, dude, I was a tiny kid. I was seventh grade or eighth grade,
Oh,
but I was in love with it, dude. I've been a guitar player and a fan of music since I was a kid, and like for years, even to this day, if people ask me about, oh, like what's a great live record, I'm like, you should listen to Home Belly Groove. That is one of the
Yeah.
best fucking live records, period. Like, I would put that up there with, like, the live James Taylor record and all these great live
Oh
records,
man,
Bill
thank you.
Withers, because it's just, like, you guys as a four-piece, the amount of music you made with just the four of you. First of all, the amount of music that you written and recorded and everything, but, like, I always felt like you guys were just like this cut above. Maybe because you were in that jam band world, it felt like you had to come up to this level, musically speaking. But like anytime you guys were jamming, or anytime there was extended periods of the tune or whatever, for some reason, and like Sweet Widow is a perfect example of that for me off of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
record. I mean, that
yeah.
version of that tune, I told Eric when he was on, I was like, do you remember what your rig was? Because I've been chasing that fucking tone my whole life.
Oh,
And
well,
like, oh,
let me cut you off right there, man. Eric's tone, it's all in his hands.
yeah.
It's, it. I've been like, I've been playing with Eric since I was fucking 20 years old, and that guy's been through all different kinds of, rigs and stuff like that. And for the most part, he sounded very similar,
Mhm.
and his, his dad was the first cello in the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. His grandfather was a violinist, and his great grandfather played viola, or maybe vice versa. But I mean, the guy is a fourth generation string player. You know what I mean? It's just like the guy's just got hands. It's just his hands.
Yeah, it's
It's the
crazy.
way it's the way he strikes the strings, and the like the attitude, that he plays with, and he's just, I mean, that guy's tone is fucking amazing, man.
I mean, him and Mike McCready were my two like heroes,
Yeah.
like growing up.
Yeah.
And then when I heard Trey, I was like, oh, but but it's
I
like
love Trey.
those three guys have been like my North Star, like throughout my whole life, like learning the instrument and getting to the place I was and going to Berkeley and then getting into like learning about Wayne Krantz and oh my God, that dude's crazy. And like Jimmy Herring and all these crazy people. But you guys have always been there. And when this record came out, this new record, Faceful of Cake, came out. That's what I was saying is like, oh, this is more of the stuff I love about this band. This is
Yeah.
why I love this band. And I felt that way too about Nice Talking to Me. That I mean, the first four tracks, if I was like, hey, listen to Nice Talking to Me, just listen, give the first four tracks a listen. People will be like, holy shit, it's like banger, 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 banger. And that you guys are so good at that. It's just like you just write
Thank you.
really good feeling music and like you're singing your ass off still. And even after all the problems you had with your voice years ago, like I don't know how you overcame that. And that must have
I
been
don't either,
a mind
actually.
fuck.
I
So,
don't I don't know either.
but
For
I'm
your
glad you
for
did.
your for your viewers who don't know, I had two vocal paralyses. So my vocal cord got paralyzed twice. And the second time in 2015, I don't know if you know this, but like it's still paralyzed. I learned to sing with one vocal cord. So
What?
like, yeah, the I went and got scoped, because they stick like a camera up your nose and then through your sinuses and down, and it looks down at your vocal cords. And I got my voice back, and my doctor came to a gig, and he's like, "Oh, you sound great. Come on in. We'll scope you. It's going to be great. Chords are going to be rocking." And then he's looking, and he's like, "Huh?" And I was like, "What, huh?" And he goes, "Your right vocal cord is still largely immobile." And I was like, "How's that possible?" And he's like, "You've got the vertical movement, so you got your range, but there's no lateral movement." And I was like, "So what's happening?" And he's like, "Honest to God, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it." He's like, "You seem to be using the musculature around the immobile vocal cord to brace it against the other immobile vocal cord." So I'm like, I go home and my wife is just like, only you would learn to sing with one fucking vocal cord. My wife calls me the king of mind over matter. So I mean, honestly, I don't really know. I don't know why I can still, because I fucking want to sing.
I know,
So
yeah.
I just did.
That's who you are, man. I mean, I noticed Is Eric tuned down a half step? Are you guys tuning down a half step now? I thought I
We
heard.
are, yeah,
Okay.
we did tune down a half step. It's like, I that's my voice now is like my voice is, your voice changes as you get older, and that's my
Yeah.
range now. I don't, and
It's
it's
still
any
fucking
singer,
huge.
no, I mean any singers out there who are like, getting on in years, or having some difficulties or something like that, I highly recommend going down a half step. It's because that's just where my voice is at now. I don't, those notes, the higher notes just aren't there the same way anymore. And my voice teacher was like, um he was like Placido Domingo. My voice teacher is an opera guy, and I've had the same voice teacher since 1989, my whole career. And I I'm like pretty much his only rock and roll student. It's like all opera people and musical theater. And obviously he doesn't teach me to sing opera. It's all technique oriented. And he's very like, I mean, the word holistic is very, you know, hackneyed, but he's like, we talk a lot about the ways of thinking about singing, but it's also very physical, very puts his hands on me, gets my alignment right, and so I'm a very, believe it or not, I'm a very technical singer, but you want to be technical so that you don't sound technical. And um, shit, I forget where I was going with all that. Um, oh
Well,
yeah, and so he was like Placido Domingo's had the longest career in the history of opera, and it's because he was a tenor, sang like the high stuff. When he got a little older, he just lowered. It's just like, we're not going to do this in C. We're going to like lower it to B, and then he lowered it to B flat. Then he stopped singing tenor parts, and he went from doing Othello to Iago and started doing the baritone parts.
mhm.
And he's just like, he just was never like, guys like Pavarotti, just wanted to keep doing they wanted to keep doing it the way they'd always done it, and their careers weren't as long, and um, Domingo just he just wasn't shy about being like, oh, I just want to keep singing, so I'll sing the lower thing. And that's kind of like where I'm coming from. Like, I don't need to do some kind of pissing match and
No,
and like show everybody, okay, I can still sing this note. It's because you just want to sing well.
no, yeah, dude, and I feel like you still have the range. Like, there's tons of people who wouldn't even be able to sing what you're doing down a half step. So it's like, I mean, whatever, dude. We're all at,
Eric loves it. Eric loves it because the strings are looser, and you
it's the
know,
key of Jimi Hendrix, right? That's
yeah,
all we gotta do, man.
yep,
Um,
yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you this because I am so curious about this as a fan. But so coming off the success of Kryptonite, when you guys were doing Turn It Upside Down,
Hmm.
were you guys like super stressed out with like you hear all these
Yeah,
stories about sophomore records and people being like, you gotta deliver, record companies like blah blah blah. Like
we
what?
were we were we were really tired and very
Hmm.
burnt out. We weren't getting along we get along really well now, but we were just like really young. Somebody should have sat us down with a therapist and been like, and had a therapist be like, so Chris, you seem very angry. Do you have something that you'd like to say to Eric? And he'd be like, "Ruh, ruh,
Right.
ruh, ruh, ruh," and be like, now Eric, how does that make you feel? Would you like to say something to Chris? Like we just needed somebody to like say, and now like years later, I mean, Aaron and Eric and Jack are like, three of the most important people in my life. I like I they're three of my best friends, and I don't like to be like we're family, because I think that's horseshit when people say, and also family is like different people like feel differently about their family. You know what I mean? It's like family's not
Uh-huh.
always like that's complicated. So, and we work together. We work together, and we're really good friends, and we care very deeply about each other, and we enjoy each other's company, and we play together, like in this really special kind of way. And we're all very aware of the fact that the world is full of amazing players who never end up in a combo, with this kind of chemistry. And I feel like no matter what I do, I do solo stuff, and I'm a pretty accomplished guitar player, and I've got, a whole repertoire of solo things, solo stuff, and very strong material. Um, and but my life's work is singing for spin doctors, and I think we all feel like the strongest work we've ever done and we're ever going to do is the stuff that we've done with the spin doctors. Even though some people might prefer some of the stuff some of us have done on our own, on the whole, that's like your legacy, and that's like your life's work, and it's whatever you achieve outside of that, you certainly owe to some extent, our achievements with the spin doctors are propelling whatever achievements we have outside of the band, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that it's the sum of the parts thing, right? It's just like you guys, there's something that happens when you guys get together on a stage that can't be replicated by anybody.
Yeah.
By the greatest cover band in the world will never be able to replicate
No,
what you guys create.
no,
And
it's really true.
I
It's really
mean,
true. We've got a lovely kind of chemistry going on.
yeah. And even like, so like when, you got to believe in something came out and Eric's departure for a bit, that little hiatus when he wasn't in the band. I said something to Aaron about this too, because I was like, man, you guys got to play some of those songs. I know Eric wasn't in the band then, but some of those songs on that record were so good. Like, and hearing him play those and his interpretation of those. Now, I know there's a couple off there that he has, but like, man, like To Make Me Blue, that song is so dope, dude. Like,
Yeah, that's a really good song. We got
oh,
lucky with that one.
man,
I
so good.
I heard that I heard that a few months ago, and I was like, what the? I kind of put that record on. It was like flipping around between. I think actually one of my favorite recordings I've ever been on is Where Angels Fear to Tread.
Oh, God, yeah, dude. So good. I mean,
Yeah, that's a really gorgeous recording.
that whole record is so, I mean, obviously She Used to Be Mine was the big single from that record.
Yeah,
That sounds great. I mean, the
yeah,
whole
that's a fucking banger too, man. That's a good
sonically,
record,
dude. What can I do to help get you guys play those songs? I'm gonna have to get in touch with
dude.
Eric. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Just
Did
do
you
it.
say did you say this to Eric?
I would. No, I mean, we didn't talk about it when he was on. When he was on, I was geeking about guitar stuff heavily
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and whatnot. But like, dude, I mean, I talk to him every now and again on Instagram because I was like, I want you to come back on to talk about Face Full of Cake because Aaron was just on it like
yeah.
right before the record dropped. So
Uh-huh.
we couldn't really talk about it. He was like, I can talk a little bit off air with you about it when it's coming out and stuff. But that dude,
Right.
yeah, that record is so good. You guys should be playing some of those songs, man.
I know it's a
Um,
really cool record. It
yeah.
is a cool record. Danny Korchmar. It was so fun working with Danny Korchmar, and he was just our late A&R guy, Frankie LaRocca, pushed for us to work with him. And you know, I met Danny, and we had this conversation, and I was just like, why should we work with you? I was still really kind of young and rebellious and just kind of like, like Frankie's like telling us what to do. Like, why should I work with you? And why should we just produce it ourselves? And he's like, look, you know, you're the singer and you're the writer, and both of those things be like a full-time job. It's like I can just come in and make things easier for you. And I was like, well, how do I know you're not gonna like just steamroll, you know, our ideas and just like make it like a thing that isn't us? And he's like, listen, when it's right, we'll all know.
Mm,
And I was like, that changed like the way I worked forever. Like when it's right, we'll all know. And that goes back to what I was talking about before of that thing of like when you're making a record, you have to work. You have to work it until it makes you have an involuntary reaction, until you know. And how do you know? You know because it comes on and it's so funky that you just start laughing, or it comes on and you start like your head starts going like this, or it comes on and you and the person you're next to like just like look over at each other and go, "What the fuck is this?" Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? When you have an involuntary reaction to it, that's when you're like, okay, cool, we can move on to the next thing now. Because, that's what music is,
Hmm.
That's what music is. Music is like, music is that. That's when you know something. That's the difference between like some fucking, you know, automated bullshit crap that's like playing, you know, while you take a shit in a gas station, you know,
Right.
and Carnegie Hall.
Hmm. Man, and it's a thing that people that don't play music don't understand, but like that whole idea of like being in a studio and you're cutting a record or you're cutting a single or whatever you're doing and being in the room and your drummer does something so funky or so funny, like with the fill, that it's like it's not bad. It's just funny because it's like makes you giggle because it's so good. Like
Oh
that,
yeah,
I live for that shit. Like that's
me
the
too.
best. And I think that when you said that about him being like, "We'll know when it's right,"
Yeah,
like people that have never recorded in the studio, after you do a take, if everyone's like, "That was the one," it was the one
yeah,
because
yeah,
everybody felt it. Everyone in the
yeah,
room felt it. And if one person didn't feel it in the room, chances are they're either going to feel it when you get into the control room and listen to it, or chances are you're going to get in the control room and all of you like, yeah, that wasn't the one.
yeah.
That person was
Totally,
right. But it is if it's
totally.
unanimous, it's pretty easily palpable that it's good to go. Um,
Yeah, and for your you know viewers that are like in bands, another thing like is one, like when you're working on stuff, j- just if somebody has an idea, try it. Just do it. Like, try it, because by the time you're done arguing about whether it's a good idea or not, you could have just done it. And and when it's not a good idea, 9 out of 10 times, the person whose idea it was will be the first person to say, "Nah, that didn't work. Let's move on."
yep.
You know. So
Yep.
like that's one thing that like I wish if you could like take all the time that bands spend arguing about whether to try something or not musically and put that in a bottle. I mean, you could have 100,000 years. It's just like fucking try it. By the time we're done talking about whether it's a good idea or not, we could have done it.
Totally.
And
Yep.
don't worry, the guy whose idea it is gonna be the first person to realize that it's not working.
100%. I've been in those rooms. I know. But that's sage advice for young musicians because sometimes people who do get a little bit of an ego and aren't willing to let anything happen to their song. I had a professor once, Chris, that like I had these lyrics and I was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of these lyrics," and brought it in and played it in front of the class. And he was like, "You're gonna have to put some of these lyrics in a cage match and fight them out because it's too long. Like it's
Yeah,
these are great, but like this is not a Bob Dylan tune. Like, this
yeah,
is
yeah,
not Tangled Up in Blue. Like you're doing it
yeah,
a
yeah.
completely different direction. So you gotta figure out how to like make it work. And I think that's what you got to do musically too in a
And
band.
good news, good news. The stuff you took out of that tune, those verses that you took out of that tune, they're put them in the next tune.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
It all becomes like spare parts, and so you can Frankenstein into something else. Like you don't have to throw anything away. I think people think like, oh, if I take this verse out, then it's gone for. No, it's not. It's not like
Yeah.
it disappeared out of the like. You take it and you put it somewhere, and you come across it in a year, and you go, oh, that's kind of cool. You write another song from it.
Do you have a book like of all your words and like stuff that you keep on like if something didn't work that you keep somewhere safe?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we got like a friend over, so I can't like take you into the other room. Um, but I have like, two big shelves full of notebooks that are filled, and I'm about to fill another notebook and pull out another one and start writing in it. And then I got a bunch of notes in my phone. I got a bunch of notes, in another like computer, essentially like another hard drive. And then we've got a guy named Daniel Heinz in Leipzig, Germany, who is kind of like our archivist. So I took all of my cassettes and all of the tapes that I have, and I mailed it all to him, and he's digitizing all of it. So I can be like, hey Daniel, do you have a recording of Gunsmith's Waltz? and he'll be like, "Yeah, I got one, of you guys in, from the Nightingale, and I got another one from, Wetlands, 91, and one from like, 1989, So yeah, I mean, I have all this stuff, in various places and stuff.
Man, when you just said the wetlands, that just made me think of Humvelli Groove again. But like that period of time must have been so like fertile in the city, like with all like with Blues
Yeah.
Traveler, with Fish, with you guys, with all these bands playing coming through that club. Like when you think back on that, like are you is that like fond memories? Or are you like, I don't like to
Yeah,
live
yeah.
in the past? Okay, yeah,
No, no, no. I love reminiscing and stuff like that. I mean, that was a really great time.
yeah.
We didn't know how good we had it, and I don't want to be like, "Hey, get off of my lawn," but social media sucks, honestly, and uh, not to be negative, and there's parts about it that are a lot of fun, and it could be a lot better if it wasn't being used, the way it's being used and shit like that. But
I
back
agree.
then it was like, you know, back then, you would like you'd be in your apartment and it'd be like whatever, it'd be Friday night, and you'd be like, oh, First House is playing at Nightingale. And you just know, like you'd be like, you might call somebody because you had their phone number memorized, right? And you pick up the phone and be like, Nick, 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 Nip, 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 and you'd be like, hey, Dan, you going to the Nightingale? Yeah, cool. Click. You go to the Nightingale, but like, like this like, young woman, this chick. This is the way we used to talk. This chick that
Mhm.
you like, was gonna be there because she loves that band, and you get there, and then the night would just unfold, and there's no texting, and like the whole thing of like, okay, I'm around the corner, okay, I'm 3 feet away, and I'm not like criticizing that, because it's nice. Like I like, I'm married, my wife and I are like, every time I walk out the door, I'm like, you know, she's like, okay, text me a million times. And I'm like, I will. And I love that. I love it. I love texting my daughter, and it's a different character of going through the world. And it's historical now. And so I'm not trying to shit can the way things are now, although they do kind of suck in a lot of ways. And they sucked back then too. I mean, I'm not romanticizing. There's a lot of shit that sucked back then, and I look back now and I realize, like, that we were like, you know, fucking up in a lot of ways back then too. But it was really fucking fun, and the musicianship was different because you know the level of like mechanization didn't exist. So people played differently because now everybody's so used to a certain kind of like mechanized meter that there's like an expectation of a certain kind of tightness. And
Mm,
back then, you had metronomes, and you're starting to have like drum machines. But a drum machine was more like a tool. But now, like everything is to a click, and a lot of music that you hear is actually completely mechanized. So back then, that didn't exist, and there wasn't that huge like repertoire of mechanized music. So everybody was like playing by feel. There wasn't an absolute meter to music. You know what I mean? There
yeah,
was, I so you'd be in a combo, and one guy would kind of feel it here, and one guy would feel it here, and one guy would feel it here, and you know, and it would all have a flam to it because everybody's feeling it differently, and that would become the personality of the band. So Aaron is like kind of dead on,
yeah.
and I was always like a little bit ahead, you know, but when I wanted to, I'd slip back behind him, or I would, like be like dead on and completely lock. And that kind of like idea of like swinging, where the different instruments, when people could really play.
Hmm.
I mean, people can really play now. I just meant like what in that back then in that environment when you had people who could really play, then people were slipping around, and the whole band would be behind the beat, you know, and or parts of the band would be ahead of the beat. And when everybody locked up in a certain way and bent the time of the music, that's swinging,
Hmm.
you know. And nobody talks about like swinging now. We used to talk about, oh, that shit swings,
Yeah.
It's like a jazz term. And it's such a great term because you're talking about a a kind of tightness that's really loose,
Yeah, man.
it's a loose kind of tightness and everything's together, but it's swinging, and you're kind of piercing the rhythm rather than adhering to and you see it in all kinds of art now. I think like you see it in dance. Like I was watching Mary Poppins, and Danny Kaye, not Danny Kaye, Dick Van Dyke, who just turned 100.
I
God
know. I saw that.
bless him.
I know. He's
um
amazing. I love him.
yeah, and we just happened to have it on. Like it just came on. It was Thanksgiving. We all just sat there and we were like, what the hell? And I mean, the training was different back then. So you got a guy, Dick Van Dyke, he's a physical comedian, he's a fantastic singer, and he's a fantastic dancer, and he's trained that way, you know. And the dancing, I don't know how to explain it. I find it hard to like explain this, but the dancing back then was like it was sort of the onus was on grace, and it was looser, and um and it reminds me of jazz. It reminds me of like, we're all jazz trained rock musicians
Hmm.
in the Spin Doctors. We were all like, well, not Jack. Jack's not a conservatory guy, but we all met at a jazz conservatory. So, there's a way that we play, and it comes from learning to play and learning to play together in an era that was before music was mechanized, because we didn't have that in our ear when we were little. We were listening to people play an interpretation of where the time was rather than um, you know, an absolute mathematical take on where
Yeah.
the time is.
Well, I mean, you guys talk about swing. I mean, you you guys really have. I mean, that's the thing that I love about your music is it grooves hard, like real hard.
Yeah,
And I think that that's something that people don't may not understand about the Spin Doctors is that there is this level of groove oriented music that can be translated from listening to people like Ray Charles, even, or like
yeah,
anything that predated what you guys are doing, and it doesn't have to be that, because I see the blues, I see R&B being a part of the Spin Doctors. I can hear the jazz influence. I always have been able to hear that stuff. But
yeah,
anytime I listen to music that just really grooves hard, that's to make me feel good feeling
yeah,
is the groove.
yeah. I mean, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
Yes, sir. I mean, I mean, I think you guys personify that in the world of rock and roll out of many bands. And I still preach the Spin Doctors gospel. Anytime I see somebody throwing shade at the Spin Doctors from like the sitcom or something, and I'm watching it with my wife, I'm like, man, fuck this show. Like, I'm just like, they don't understand music. And like, I'm like, and if they
I
understood,
love that. I love it.
yeah,
I mean, it goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I take what I do seriously. I'm serious about singing. I'm serious about writing. I'm serious about going on stage ready to play, and like, you come and see the Spin Doctors, I promise you we're going to be ready. We're going to throw the fuck down. But I don't take myself seriously. And when I like saw um Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds out of the fucking blue, I'm just watching Deadpool, and he's like, cancer is a shit show. It's a jack off Smirnoff opening for the Spin Doctors at the Iowa State Fair shit show. And I was like, oh, damn, what the, oh, shit. I mean, I like lost my mind, I thought that was fucking great. And the hemp
Yeah.
thing, the hemp hat in South Park. I mean, it's just like because the truth is like, you know, you can be a great band and you can also be an object of ridicule. You know, the
Oh yeah.
fact the just like when I grew up, like all my friends were songwriters and we would make fun of each other's songs. But when you sang like a filthy version, like somebody sang a filthy version of your song, it was like an own, like it was like you owned them because you knew that they had the song stuck in their head. So it was really like nobody took it badly because it was like, you know, somebody sing a version of your song and like making fun of your song. You're like, yeah, but you can't get that shit out of your head, can you? Because that's why you have to sing like a messed up version of it. So like, you know, I like I never I never worry about that kind of shit because I'm like, if anybody really like is listening and can hear, you know, um, they know how good we are, and you know, if somebody doesn't, they might find out someday, and if they never find out, then you know,
Shame on them.
yeah, it's too bad, you know.
I was just in a guitar shop the other day, Chris, and I was heading out. I know the guy that owns it, and he's like, "Who's next on your podcast?" And I told him it was you. He's like, "Oh, that's dope. My wife's favorite band is the Spin Doctors." I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh,
And I was like, "Have you heard their new record?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "You should turn it on in here today. It's really good." Um, so it's like I think just for my viewers here and listeners here, which there's well over 6,000 people that constantly check in on this channel, like do yourself a favor and check out Face Full of Cake. It's a great record.
thank
It,
you.
it
It's a solid record.
it's great, man. Are you guys already? And I don't want to keep you too much longer because I got to get back to work too. But like, are you guys already working on new material for the next record?
I'm always writing. I'm always like screwing around with stuff.
I
Like
can't wait, man.
you know, I think I think we might do a session this winter on something, but we might wait until next year. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that record is really good, and you can hear how much fun we
Hmm.
were having. You know, we went down to Asbury Park. We're in Jack Daly's studio. You know, I was gonna stay at this hotel, the Asbury, which is a great hotel. But at the time, I was doing like dry January, and I get there and I'm like, where's your fitness center? And they were like, oh, we don't have a fitness center. But the bar is open until 2. And I was like, uh,
It's not
excuse
good
me.
for
And I
me.
go out to my car, find another hotel, the Asbury Beach Club. It's like it's twice as expensive. Call my manager. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to this other hotel. We'll figure out how much I owe the band like afterwards. The hotel's beautiful. The Asbury's great too. But we get to the and I like get there, wake up the next morning, I'm drinking an oat milk latte and having like an avocado toast with wild mushrooms. And like, you know, I get to the studio and I tell everybody, I tell the guys like, hey, I moved to this other hotel. It's great. They're like, I want to stay there too. So we all stayed there. Nobody had to pay anything back. And you know, we're just like waking up in the morning and like, you know, eating our avocado toast and just enjoying each other's company.
That's
And
all.
driving over the studio is like a mile to the studio, 5 minute drive. And I'm, you know, eating like chili for lunch every day. And it's super insular and it's Jack and it's Jack's studio. Jack, me, Aaron, Roman, Clune was the engineer and the producer on it. Very insular. We fell into this like rhythm of how we were working, and we were just really enjoying ourselves. We thought we were making demos. We didn't even think we were making the record. We were just trying to demo some tunes, and we got, you know, like a couple days in, and we were like, guys, this might be the record. And everybody was like, yeah, let's not say anything else about it. Let's just keep going. And
Man.
then our manager came and listened to it, and he was like, "Guys, I think this is the record." And we were like, "Yeah,
We knew that. That's the thing. Going back to what we said, everybody knew. So,
everybody knows." Yeah.
it's so dope, dude. Well,
Well,
I
thank you
cannot
so much. I
wait.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I can't wait till the next record, man. I honestly like
Thank
it.
you.
Just keep doing it, man. I don't stop. I love it, and
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you
I
guys. I was talking to Jack about that because I missed you guys at Ocean City, Ocean's Calling this past summer when you guys came to
Oh
Maryland.
yeah. Oh yeah. We're doing we're playing Oh, where are you?
I'm outside of Baltimore, like north of
Oh,
Baltimore.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna be out again this summer with Blues Traveler and Gin Blossoms. We'll be up and down the Eastern Seaboard all summer long.
hell yeah.
That tour is what we did last year, and it's like backed by popular demand. We got so many offers that we couldn't do them all. So we're actually I've never heard of this, but like usually you go out, with a couple bands and you do a summer and then that's it. But we're actually doing a second summer in a row. So,
Man,
backed by popular demand. So
I
it'll be
can't
fun.
wait, dude. I will definitely be there, man. I will definitely be
Cool.
there.
Come and
Chris,
say hi.
yeah, oh, I for sure will. If you
All
guys will
right,
have me, I would love to say hi. Um,
please.
let's do this thing. I do this thing, lightning round, get down. It's like a rapid fire
Okay,
questionnaire, and it's just
cool.
silly stuff.
Great.
So if you want, you can explain your answers. If you don't want to, you do not have to.
Okay.
First one is always the same.
Yeah.
Lennon or McCartney?
Leonard McCartney. Uh, Ringo.
All right, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Christmas Vacation or Christmas Story?
And Ringo and George Harrison. That's my answer.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase, or Christmas Story? Shoot your eye out.
Christmas Story.
Okay. Gibson or Martin?
Gibson.
Physical Graffiti or Zeppelin 4?
Houses of the Holy.
Okay. How about Physical Graffiti or Houses of the Holy? But between those two, still Houses of the Holy?
Houses of the Holy all day
Okay.
long.
Yeah, it's a good record.
You could put that up against any other record almost, except Exile on Main Street. I'm going to say Houses of the Holy.
Okay, that's fair. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, Star Wars.
Big Fat Funky Booty or I Liked You Better When Your Butt Was Big?
Ooh. Shit. I mean,
a medley of this summer, by the way.
Yeah, a medley. That's right. A medley. That's
you
my
gotta do a
answer.
mashup.
That's great. We should do a mashup.
100%.
Oh my God. That's gonna happen, man. That's gonna happen. That's gonna fly. I'm gonna make sure that happens.
Every fucking time I'm in my car and that song comes on, they gotta fucking figure out.
Oh, mashup. The second I get off with you, I'm gonna text that to the guys.
Okay. Bonnaroo or Horde Tour?
Horde. Duh.
Of course. Dine in or eat out?
Dine in.
Summer.
Unless it's really fucking fancy.
Okay. All right. I got you. Summer or winter in New York City?
Summer.
Okay. And here's the last one, Chris. If you could take one record and erase it from your memory just so you could go back and experience it for the first time again, what album would that be?
The Muddy Waters Chess Collection, but maybe Exile on Main Street.
Okay. We can do a duel. That's fine. We can do both of them. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. So why the Muddy Waters record?
Because it's so damn funky, man. It's just like that shit is like all those songs are great. It's like Willie Dixon on the bass, Little Walter on the harmonica, and it just makes you like screw your face up because it's just so like it's so bluesy and so like tasty, Exile on Main Street though is so cinematic,
Oh yeah.
I actually think as I speak, I think that's the one because it's the stories that are told on it and like the idea of hearing like tumbling dice, hearing that opening riff on tumbling dice, like again, like having never heard it before and like the backing singers coming in and like Charlie like playing that loosey goosey
Oh man.
shit. Yeah, I think it would be Exile on Main Street.
Hell yeah, dude. I had Dave Cruson was my first guest of this season. If you know who Dave Cruson is, right? He was
No, I don't.
He was the drummer that played on 10.
I'm a lead singer, so if it doesn't pertain directly to me, I'm like not so hot on it.
Well, he was the drummer that played on Pearl Jam's 10.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he's a big king. He's a swinger.
Oh yeah, Dave. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave. I totally know who he is. Sorry, I just like yeah,
But we had a whole conversation about Charlie Watts and his vibe and
yeah.
how he played the drums and stuff. And Dave had the most interesting things to say about like his perspective of it, why he loves it and everything. And it just
Yeah.
gives me a new appreciation every time I hear the Stones
He's
now.
he's
So
such an artist. When we opened up for um the Stones, um Keith's guitar tech like let me like play a bunch of guitars and shit. And then the band came out to sound check, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get you in trouble." He's no, no, no. He just like he took me, sat me on a chair, like you know, I could have reached out and like touched Charlie's like hi hat, and I just sat there. And they played a song like probably something that ended up on a later record, it's a song I'd never heard before, and I watched Charlie like work the hi hat, and it was like you know, I'd never really thought about the hi-hat before and the way it colors, you know, the different sections of a song. He was like had it like tight and it was like tick, 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 tick. And then he like kind of let go a little bit and let it get a little looser. It was like talk, 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 talk. And then he went to another section, he opened it up a little bit, it was like and then like opened it all the way, like, and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is this guy doing? It was like
yeah.
just honing in on the hi hat, forgetting everything else. The guy, he's an artist.
The master, yeah, like the amount of timbre, like the different sounds that he got out of that thing, man. It's
Ah,
crazy.
so
Like
beautiful,
genius.
so beautiful.
Oh my God. Well, Chris, man,
Mark,
honestly,
thank you,
from the bottom of my heart, man, for real, like you
dude.
guys have been a huge part of my musical life and my journey and still to this day. And I really can't express how much I appreciate the fact that you guys
Thank you.
exist. Because I don't know that I would have stuck with it, or I don't know what I would have gotten into, but like music is my life. And
Uh, I can see that.
you're a big part of it. So I appreciate you and thank you for doing
Thanks,
it.
Mark. I appreciate it, man. Let's
Yeah,
do this
man.
again sometime.
Yeah, of course. We can do a part two. We can dive deep into songwriting. Maybe we can do like it's funny, I did something one time with somebody who's a songwriter and we like co-wrote like on air and just like had ideas and we're flipping ideas back and forth and stuff. And that was fun. We can always
Yeah,
do something
cool,
like that, dude.
fun.
But man, everybody check out what's going on with the Spin Doctors. There's a link. It's just spindoctors.com, but go to the tour page, find out where they're playing, go support them. The new record is amazing. All the old stuff is amazing. They should be playing more stuff. If you got to believe in something, we're going to work on that. I'm going to talk to Eric a little bit more about that. But
Yep.
everything else in between, everybody make sure you go check it out. Chris, hang on one second. Everybody else, take care of yourself, take care of
Thank
each
you.
other, and we'll see you
Thanks,
next time.
everybody.